Your local election headquarters. Tonight, live, the 2022 Rhode Island Congressional Debate.
12 News is your local election headquarters, and we welcome you live to the Providence Performing Arts Center for tonight's Rhode Island Congressional District 2 debate. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Shannon Heggie. Tonight, the top two candidates in this race, Republican Alan Fung and Democrat Seth Magaziner, will face off for their first live televised debate ahead of Election Day on November 8th. So without further ado, let's turn it over to our moderators for the evening, Tim White and Ted Nesi.
Thank you, Shannon, and welcome everyone to a debate in this critical election as both parties vie for the control of Congress.
Over the next hour, we will be going over some of the key issues for voters in Rhode Island's 2nd Congressional District, which stretches from parts of Providence down to Westerly.
Each candidate will have the opportunity to give a 1-minute closing statement at the end of this debate, and the candidates are, from left to right on your screen, Republican Alan Fung and Democrat Seth Magaziner. Mr. Fung served as mayor of Cranston from 2009 to 2021. Earlier in his career, he worked as a state prosecutor and also for the insurer MetLife. Mr. Fung was the Republican nominee for governor in 2014 and 2018. He has degrees from Rhode Island College and Suffolk University Law School. Mr. Magaziner has served as Rhode Island's general treasurer since 2015. Prior to that, he worked in finance and taught elementary school in Louisiana for Teach for America. Mr. Magaziner has degrees from Brown University and the Yale School of Management. There is no strict format to tonight's debate. We're looking for an open and honest discussion of the issues. Candidates, we will allow for some back and forth. In fact, we encourage it. But if you're taking too long or not answering the questions, we will jump in. Let's begin. Gentlemen, in our most recent 12 News Roger Williams University poll, a majority of voters cited the cost of living as the #1 issue going into the election. Mr. Magaziner, most economists agree that the $1.9 trillion rescue plan, which included direct checks to residents, played a role in fueling the inflation we're experiencing right now. Bloomberg News reported this week that a recession is, quote, effectively certain in the next 12 months. Were the federal relief packages championed by your party too generous, and Americans are now paying the price?
Well, thank you, Tim and Ted and Channel 12 for hosting us tonight, and thank you to everyone who is watching for caring about our country. When I talk to Rhode Islanders across the district, people are frustrated. They are working hard, but their incomes are not keeping up with their bills. And there are a lot of reasons for it. Certainly, what's going on in Russia and Ukraine is a factor. The fast recovery from COVID is a factor. But another big factor that people aren't talking about enough is price gouging by the big oil companies. The first 9 months of this year alone, the 5 big oil producers made over $150 billion in profits, not revenues, profits, at a time when Rhode Islanders were paying $4 or $5 a gallon for gas. That is unconscionable. So what I will do in Congress is support legislation that would require the big oil companies to put some of their profits back into consumers' pockets in the form of rebates. We have to go after price gouging, and it's not just in the oil industry. The prescription drug industry is another one. Overcharging Rhode Islanders, it's killing people. We need to be tough on the prescription drug companies. And there's a clear contrast between me and Alan Fung on this, which is that I will be tough on those companies, he won't. You know how? I know that. It's because those same industries are funding his campaign. Alan is a former lobbyist for the insurance industry. He has been accepting tons of money from the oil industry, the drug industry, the insurance industry. You see those stupid negative ads that they're running against me? Look up who's funding them. It's all public record.
I obviously have to let Mr. Fung respond to that, but one thing I didn't hear from you, Mr. Magaziner, is you rattled off a couple of things that are affecting inflation. You didn't cite the thing that I asked in the question, which is the Rescue Plan Act that dumped $1.9 trillion into the economy. Do you acknowledge that that played a role?
Look, I don't think that supporting working people who are struggling to keep up the cost of living is a bad thing to do. I think helping people by raising the minimum wage, by making sure that people can afford child care is a good thing for Congress to do. And listen, there are a lot of things that we can do in Congress that would have bipartisan support to lower the cost of living. right? We can expand domestic energy production. We can bring more manufacturing jobs back home. I have been for suspending the federal gas tax so that people can get some relief at the gas pump. But we have to also be tough on these big industries, the oil industry, the insurance industry, the prescription drug industry, that are price gouging people.
All right, Mr. Fung, he says you would not stand up to the oil industry. He says you wouldn't stand up to big pharma. What do you say?
Well, absolutely. I'm going to be a voice for Rhode Islanders. That's why I'm running. Because clearly you see the difference between myself and Mr. Magaziner. First of all, those negative ads that he's talking about, that he himself, not even super PACs, he himself are outright lying about a lot of my positions, because I am focused upon the #1 issue that's on the people's minds right now. Addressing your question, this cost of living crisis and what fueled it. ARPA and that overspending by this president. The fact that he's heated up the economy, where you have economists on both sides of the aisle, including Larry Summers, who was, the economist for former President Obama, is saying that all of this spending has really driven to the point where so much dollars into the economy, it's ratcheting up to 40-year record high inflation. And he's doubling down and supporting these same economic policies that our failed president, as well as Speaker Nancy Pelosi, have been forcing onto this economy that's costing us at the gas pumps, at the grocery stores. First and foremost, we have to make sure we get this spending under control, and that's why I'm running. This economy has to drive back down some of that outrageous spending, coming from Washington, D.C. We have to become energy independent once again and ensure that we're not relying upon unstable economies and regimes across the globe for our oil and gas.
But pivoting back to ARPA, Mr. Fung, let's be clear in what you just said there. The Rescue Plan Act passed in the House by just a handful of the votes. One of those yes votes was Congressman Langevin. So are you saying that if you were in that seat at the time, you would have voted no?
It would have been too much money. Here's why, Tim. Because everyone forgets that that was the second tranche of dollars to help. I'm not saying that we didn't need some dollars to help get our economy back on track.
Didn't that second tranche include $43 million for Cranston?
Can I finish, please? The first tranche, if you remember, was the CARES Act dollars. Remember they had to claw back some of those dollars from CARES to help, pay for ARPA 2? When you have that much money into the economy and you're doubling down and providing more, you are providing way too much money. And when we're talking about not just Cranston, but every city and town, including the dollars into the state of Rhode Island, that much money where you have 4 to 5 years to spend it and nothing targeted. I'm about targeted strategic spending to invest in our economy, in our infrastructure, so that we need to fix the, add dollars to the Quonset port, add dollars to, help Galilee, so that we're aiding the industries there. Strategic dollars is what I'm about, instead of just throwing dollars out into the economy that's heating it up, that economists on both sides of the aisle say is contributing to these 40-year record highs.
We're going to give you each 30 seconds to close this topic out. Mr. Magaziner.
Well, listen, there's a clear difference here, right? So Allen supported the Trump tax cuts that put trillions of dollars into the hands of millionaires and billionaires. If you think there's too much money in the system, that's where there's too much money in the system. He opposed measures to help working people get ahead, including the Inflation Reduction Act, which lowers the cost of prescription drugs, especially for seniors, makes historic investments in expanding domestic energy to get us off of foreign oil.
10 seconds.
These are things that will lower the cost of living for working people. Allen and the Republicans, time and time again, side with the big industries and with the billionaires and millionaires. If there's too much money in the system, it's because they're giving the money to them instead of to working people.
Mr. Fung, 30 seconds.
Just like President Biden, his hero, and who wants to serve as president again, he's out of touch with the realities. Mr. Magaziner supported the TCI tax through added additional new taxes on gas, as well as home heating oil, to support his Green New Deal that he wants here in Rhode Island. He's also supporting that Inflation Reduction Act that's introduces billions in new taxes during one of the worst economies we faced in 40-plus years. We can't afford, Mr. Magaziner. We need to cut spending, become energy independent, drive these prices down, and that's what I'm about, focusing on the economy.
Thank you, Mr.
Our
Fung.
12 News Roger Williams poll also found abortion was the second biggest issue for voters in the 2nd District, and it's come up a lot, so I want to ask you both about your positions. Mr. Fung, I'll start with you. Ever since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, Congress has been debating whether there should be a federal right to abortion or a federal ban on abortion, and you've said repeatedly you support states' rights when it comes to abortion, and some states are now taking steps to ban the procedure, like in Texas, where they're banning it at 6 weeks. Do you think states should be allowed to ban abortion under federal law, or do you think Congress should require abortion to be legal nationwide up to a certain point?
Yeah. And I'm glad you asked that question, Ted, because I need to, first talk to all of your viewers and the people in the 2nd District and people in Rhode Island to clarify my position on abortion because of the outright lies from these ads that my opponent has been putting out against me. I do not and never said, nor will I ever support a national abortion ban or criminalize it. And that is where I am, stand on this position. I do, believe that a woman needs that ability to make that deeply personal decision about getting access to an abortion.
If you're elected to Congress, you will face that question about whether it should be a floor and all American women have the same right to an abortion up to a certain point, or a ceiling. Do you think states such as Texas, under federal law, should be able to have these earlier bans?
Look, I'm not supportive of any type of national ban or any type of bans or criminalizing it, whether it's at the federal level or at the state level. Period.
Mr. Magaziner, you've run a lot of ads suggesting he supports a national ban on abortion. He just said he doesn't.
There is a clear difference between me and Alan Fung on the issue of abortion. I trust women to make the choice of whether or when to have children. He thinks that it should be up to politicians and judges. Whether it's at the federal level or the state level, doesn't matter. It should be up to women, not up to politicians and judges. And let's look at the record here. 3 years ago in Rhode Island, we passed a law to codify the protections of Roe v. Wade here in Rhode Island. I testified for that bill. I fought for it. I lobbied for it. Alan Fung was against it. He got the endorsement from an extreme organization just last week called Right to Life that supports banning all abortions regardless of the health of the mother or whether it was the result of rape or incest. And he has already said that he is going to vote for Kevin McCarthy, the Republican leader in Congress, to be the next Speaker of the House, even though Kevin McCarthy has said that he is going to put a national abortion ban into play in the House of Representatives. So listen, there is a clear contrast between us. I trust women. I think that women should be able to make their own health care decisions, not politicians, not extreme judges. And if you couldn't trust Alan Fung to do the right thing here in Rhode Island 3 years ago, you're not going to be able to trust him in Washington either. In Congress, you will always know where I stand.
Well, Mr. Magaziner, I will let Mr. Fung respond in a second, but I do want to ask you, Republicans have argued that you are taking an extreme position on abortion. So let me ask you a simple question. Do you think there should be any legal limits on abortion in the United States?
What I support is going back to Roe versus Wade, what we had in this country for 49 years before his extreme judges ripped those rights away. Under Roe versus Wade, states had the ability to put reasonable limitations on abortion. What I would do in Congress is do what we did here in Rhode Island, which Alan opposed, and put the protections of Roe v. Wade into federal law so that all women are protected, regardless of what state they live in or who their politicians happen to be. What I support is putting Roe versus Wade, which was the law of the land in this country for 49 years, back into place.
Mr. Fung, you did oppose the Reproductive Privacy Act in Rhode Island, which some might see as in conflict with your position now. Can you reconcile those two?
Yeah, absolutely, because that law went beyond Roe. They did more. And at the federal level, I could be supportive of that bill, that bipartisan bill, with Senator Collins, Senator Murkowski, and Senator Kaine.
Yep. So that's wrong, by the way.
15 seconds.
No, so that's wrong. The bill that we passed in Rhode Island 3 years ago to protect Rhode Island women did not go beyond Roe versus Wade. It codified it in state law. That is a false talking point that anti-abortion extremists had been propagating for the last 3 years, but it's not true.
Well, obviously you two disagree on that, so I'll give it back to Tim.
But read the bill. I mean, it's in there.
All right, Mr. Fung, you recently announced a set of initiatives that you say would strengthen policing nationwide. But under your leadership in Cranston, things at your police department got so bad that the state police had to come in and fix things. Why should voters feel you are the best person to address issues in policing and public safety nationally when you struggle to do so at the city level?
Well, first, let me just correct you for a minute there, Tim. I was the one that asked the state police come in to give me a...
Hang on. That was after the city council asked to bring in the state police first.
That is not true, Tim.
I reported on this story for years.
I asked, and I lived it, Tim. So, let me please finish.
So you're saying
answer.
the city council did not vote to ask to bring in the state police prior to...
I actually asked them in before the city council voted. Go to the record, Tim. I lived it. And I can tell you right now, I wanted, I inherited a police department that had issues for decades. I was the one that fixed those departments. So much so that we have a department that is a shining example in the state of Rhode Island. And what's more proof of that? Not only was I supported by law enforcement, by the National Troopers Association at the recommendation of the locals, the IBPO, and FOP in this election. Unlike my opponent, who would rather march with individuals that wants to defund and abolish the police. I will always stand with law enforcement because that's the culture that I created in Cranston, a department where I stand shoulder to shoulder with the men and women, whether, I think you guys were there, Garden City, when those rioters threatened to come into Garden City, we locked it down. I was there that night. And also, remember when we had that very tragic accident on Elmwood Avenue with the incidents, and we had those ATVs and bikers, hundreds of them, wanting to, ride up and down into Cranston? I was there, shoulder to shoulder, not only with just Cranston police, but Providence police. I will always keep our residents safe, and that's the same attitude I'll take down in Washington, D.C., where I provide resources and will stand with law enforcement.
Well, Mr. Magaziner, let's address what he brought up. He's talking about a picture of you taking part in a march that included calls to defund the police, and as he points out, unlike Mr. Fung, you have not secured, to my knowledge, any support from any police unions. For voters who look at that and say you're anti-police, what do you say to them?
So that's obviously not true. Listen, I don't support defunding the police, full stop. In fact, as state treasurer, it is literally my job to fund the police. We delivered more than $100 million to police agencies across the state last year alone, and I'll continue to support funding law enforcement in Congress. Just last week, our campaigner in the endorsement of the former colonel of the state police, Anna Sumpico, the highest law enforcement officer in Rhode Island. And I trust your reporting, Tim. The record in Cranston under Mayor Fung is clear. The state police took over because that department was being mismanaged by Mayor Fung. In the state police's own report, this is in their words, not mine, the report that he tried to bury from being released to the public, they said that under his watch, the state police was, quote, being run like the mafia, and that he was ultimately responsible. And that what he's essentially doing was rewarding officers who are friends and political supporters of his with promotions and other preferential treatment at the expense of other officers who weren't willing to play the game. And innocent people were affected by this. Remember the parking ticket scandal, where innocent people in Cranston had their neighborhoods flooded by parking tickets because they happened to live in areas that were represented by his political opponents. But look, if we want to have a serious conversation...
That was actually city council political opponents, not Mr. Fung's political opponents at that time.
Well, who voted against the contract that he was pushing through. So, listen, if we want to have a serious conversation about public safety, we also have to talk about the need to crack down on gun violence. And Alan Fung is extreme on this issue too.
We are going to get to a question. We are going to get to
side.
a question on guns. I'll give you 30 seconds, Mr. Fung, to respond to any of what he just said there.
Yeah, look, that old adage, a picture says 1,000 words. He tweeted that photo out that he was proud to march with those individuals that, had that sign, not just defund, but abolish the police department. And that's the picture that is going to be edged and burned into the minds of the voters in the 2nd District. But let's take a look at it. With Cranston, we have a vibrant police department, and the people that know me and trust me and know that I turned it around are the voters. And in that next election afterwards, I want every single district in Cranston, overwhelmingly. And that's how people throughout the district know that I can be trusted to do the right things for them.
Mr. Magaziner, 30 seconds. He's not wrong.
So, no, he is, because listen, outside this debate, when Alan Fung walked in, he walked by a whole lot of people holding Seth Magaziner signs. I'm guessing he didn't agree with them. I happened to be in a crowd of thousands of people, and one of them was holding a sign I didn't agree with. Big deal. My record is clear. The former colonel of the state police has said that I was a friend to law enforcement. I have literally funded the police as state treasurer, and in Congress, I will continue to support law enforcement as I have for my last 8 years as treasurer.
Can I just make one quick point?
10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Yeah.
See, continued misleading. He makes up stories about where I am, what I've done. I was actually in here before any of the ones were even here. You can't trust not only his words, but the ads that he puts on. It's nothing but pure fallacy.
I actually heard you walked in the back door because you knew we had a big crowd outside.
All right.
Do you want to talk about it, Seth?
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, Seth.
All right.
Let's have a little fun.
We're going to move on. Gentlemen, but actually, you mentioned ads. We're going to talk about ads. Mr. Magaziner, I'll start with you because I want to ask about some criticism you both faced. A super PAC affiliated with House Republicans has been mocking you as a rich, out-of-touch elitist who is going to Washington to give tax breaks to wealthy individuals. And it is no secret you come from one of Rhode Island's more well-connected families and grew up with a lot of advantages. How do you respond to this Republican criticism that you're out of touch with the concerns of the average voter?
Listen, none of us in life control the fate that we're born into. But what we do control, what each of us can choose to control, is what we fight for. And in my entire career, I have fought for working people. As a public school teacher, where I taught in a low-income school district, in a school building that was falling apart, where I had students, many of whom were walking home at the end of the day to empty houses because their parents were working 2 or 3 jobs. As state treasurer, where I have consistently fought to raise wages, expand benefits for working people, protect the right to organize, and cut the cost of living, and launch a state school construction program where we put more than 20,000 people to work fixing school buildings across the state. In contrast, Alan chose a long time ago to sell out to the big industries, starting when he was an insurance industry lobbyist. He opposed every single minimum wage increase in Rhode Island. He opposed raising the minimum wage from $7 to $8, then $8 to $10.10, then $10.10 to $15. How is somebody supposed to live on $7 an hour in this economy? They can't. He opposed the Affordable Care Act, said it should be overturned. He said that on your show, even though that means that 70,000 Rhode Islanders would lose their health insurance. He opposed the Inflation Reduction Act to cap the cost of prescription drugs.
We're getting away from the attacks on you on television.
Yeah, but the point is this. I have spent my whole career fighting for working people in this state. He has spent his career siding with the deep-pocketed donors who fund his campaigns, including his dumb campaign commercials, and every single time there's been a big issue in Rhode Island that impacts working people, he has taken the side of the corporate interests that fund him, not the side of Rhode Island workers.
Well, I'll let you respond to the criticism, but I'll say, do you stand by the way they're criticizing Seth Magaziner in the Republican super PAC ads that are supporting you?
I don't coordinate with super PACs. My ads.
But you've seen the ads. You know what they're saying.
Ted, but I don't coordinate with super PACs. Whatever their messaging is their messaging. I've always stayed positive, talking about who I am, reminding them, and quite frankly, I don't appreciate the quote that they're dumb ads, because you know what? It's who I am. I'm a lighthearted person. I can laugh at myself, and I want to remind people about the great work we did in Cranston, taking a city that was on the brink of financial, distress, turning it around by, working together and bringing common sense solutions to make it one of the best cities to live in America. I'm proud of a lot of that. Let's take a look at what's out of touch and how we got into politics in the first instance. When I first got started, when I ran for governor or anything else, my family, my mom, Tan Ping, who's sitting in that, front row there, my dad, my sisters, the most they gave me is $1,000. I don't have a family that somehow miraculously, unlike Seth, can finance and give himself at just 30 years old, $800,000 to start his career in politics. Those are the answers that he's never been held accountable to. But most importantly, he's doubled down right now. And talking about out of touch, he is supporting the failed policies of Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi that is crippling this economy, putting us into this cost of living crisis where, in the short 2 years that Biden's been in office, home heating oil has gone up by 97% in 2 years. This is what Rhode Islanders are facing, a winter where people can be frozen out of their homes, not being able to, feed their families or get essential items that they need for their everyday lives. This is an economy that he wants to continue to support with these failed policies from the president and speaker.
Well, and the $800,000 to your first campaign, that has come up a lot, Mr. Magaziner. What do you say to that?
Well, listen, Alan's put $200,000 of his own money into his campaigns through the years. But if you want to talk about campaign money, the big difference, again, is this. Look at who is supporting my campaign and who is supporting his, if you really want to know who's fighting for working people. I am supported by organizations that represent construction workers and nurses and teachers, working people. He is supported by the drug industry because they know that he opposes capping the bill that would cap the cost of prescription drugs. He's supported by the insurance industry because they know that he'll continue to be in their pocket as a former insurance industry lobbyist and not do enough to keep healthcare costs down. And his ads are supported by the oil industry that is price gouging people, making hundreds of billions of dollars while Rhode Islanders are being overcharged for gas. Think about this for just a second.
Briefly.
Think about this for just a second. When you were paying $5 a gallon for gas this summer, money that was your hard-earned money, some of that money was ending up in his campaign account because he was funded by the big oil.
All right, Mr.
How messed up is that?
20 seconds on that. I have a different question for you.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Again, here we go again, Seth, with his lies. $200,000. I don't have $200,000 to put into my campain.
That's how much you owned into your campaigns.
Please,
it's true.
Please, wait
I think your team needs to understand how Google and Wikipedia, works, because quite honestly, I've never put in $200,000.
I want to ask you about
Sure.
a different
But
question.
Can I just respond briefly? But I am proud of the people that are supporting me. It's the hardworking people of the 2nd District, that are hurting right now, especially our business owners. I'm proud to be supported by the small business community, NFIB. Proud to be supported by many of the businesses that create thousands of jobs to help support our economy.
So the
Let me ask you, Mr. Magaziner, please,
Right.
Mr. Magaziner. Mr. Fung, I want to ask you, you are running, as you've talked about on your record, in Cranston, and anyone who follows the news knows Cranston's had some financial difficulties recently. The Providence Journal reported the city had to hike taxes and cut jobs due to a $12 million structural deficit. They weren't even able to open the Budlong Pool this summer. If you did leave Cranston in such good shape, why did they run into financial trouble so quickly after you left?
I can only speak for myself and, my time during as mayor, and I can tell you right now, I am very proud of that Cranston turnaround. We left with one of the millions in the rainy day fund. We had the highest bond rating the city's had in decades. We made sure we invested in our schools, invested in our recreation programs for our kids. And most importantly, during that time, in order to take the city from the red with one of the highest tax rates in the state to where we are 12 years later in the middle of the pack, we reined in spending. That's the record that I'm very proud of, and the Cranston voters, Cranston residents know that story, and that's why I was overwhelmingly reelected in a Democratic city several times.
You don't bear any responsibility for the finance of the city barely a year after you left?
Ted, I'm telling you the condition of the city when I was there. That's all I can speak to. And that's why I want to take those same skills that I had with the issues that I tackled down to Washington, D.C., because we do have the same problems that I inherited when I first got into office in Cranston. Out of control spending that's heating up this economy to 40-year record highs because of the policies of the people that he wants to continue serving as president and as speaker, Nancy Pelosi. We've got to get that in check. We've got to become energy independent. We've got to get people back to work. That's my track record.
All right, candidates, let's get through a couple of topics rather quickly. This is our rapid fire section. You are both very familiar with this. I'm looking for 1 or 2 word answers to each of these questions. I don't want to litigate each one. Mr. Magaziner, we'll start with you. Do you support or oppose legislation that would legalize recreational marijuana at the federal level?
Support.
Mr. Fung.
Yes, I think we need to reform it so that it's not treated like heroin.
You support recreational marijuana at the federal level, to be clear. Is that a yes? Okay. Mr. Fung, we'll stick with you. Support or oppose legislation that would enshrine same-sex marriage in federal law?
Yes, I would support that.
Okay. Mr. Magaziner?
Support, but he was against it when we passed it in Rhode Island 10 years ago.
You both
for the
support
record.
Wait a minute. Can I clarify that? Because, again, he's outright just lying about my position. On that gay marriage bill, upstate House, I supported it once there was an amendment for the religious exemption, because I don't believe government should be telling
this is rapid
churches.
fire. So here, Mr. Magaziner, do you support or oppose a bill co-sponsored by Congressman David Cicilline that would expand the number of seats on the Supreme Court from 9 to 13? Support or oppose?
I need to learn more about it before I decide.
Are you open? Do you have any idea?
I'm always open to having a conversation, but I would prefer term limits as a fix for the Supreme Court.
Okay. Mr. Fung, expansion of the Supreme Court from 9 to 13.
I don't believe in gaming, the numbers like that, so I would oppose it.
You would oppose it. And Mr. Fung, we'll stick with you. Support or oppose term limits for U.S. representatives?
Absolutely support term
How
limits.
long?
I would go 3 terms.
3 terms, 6 years. Mr. Magaziner?
Also support probably 4 or 5 terms.
Okay, in this final rapid-fire question, again, looking for an up or down answer here, but I will let you give a brief explanation on this one. Would you support or oppose a federal ban on what have been called assault-style rifles like the AR-15 and why, Mr. Magaziner?
Yeah, listen, as a new father, it hits me in a whole new way when I hear about mass shootings at schools like Uvalde, like Newtown. Kids who are so mutilated that they can only be identified by their shoes. We have a gun violence problem in this country, and there is a clear contrast between us on this. I don't think that weapons of war belong on our streets or in our schools. We had a federal assault weapons ban in this country for 10 years in the 90s and early 2000s, and it worked. We didn't have nearly as many mass shootings as we do today. My record on this is clear. I have fought for common sense gun safety laws here in Rhode Island, and we've gotten some passed. Allen has been against every single one of them, not just the assault weapons ban, but the red flag law to protect victims of domestic violence from abusers when they are at risk. He is extreme on this issue and not in line with Rhode Island.
All right, let's fold in Mr. Fung. The original question, I'll obviously let you respond to that, but the original question to remind people is, would you support, let me just reframe it again, would you support or oppose a federal ban on what have been called assault-style rifles like the AR-15?
And let me just get back to, responding to Seth first. My record in Cranston has been about safety, making sure that our kids are safe in the schools by providing school resource officers to them, making sure that we provided funds for additional details to keep our kids safe. And that's the same attitude and leadership I'll take down in Washington, D.C. on any issue. But let's get back to, that question, because I always support making sure that criminals and those with serious mental health issues don't get access to firearms. That's the real issue. And I'm always been about balance, not what he says about extremism.
But as a U.S. rep, a bill will come to your desk. You're going to have to decide if you're going to vote it up or you're going to vote it down. Would you vote up or down?
And like I said, I would support any legislation that gets firearms out of the hands of criminals as well as those with serious mental health issues, but not take away the rights of law-abiding citizens who are responsible firearm owners.
So I don't want to put words in your mouth. You would oppose this bill, correct? Am I hearing that right?
What I'm saying is it's a balance, Tim. It's about whether or not
you have to vote on
for
the bill.
criminal. Yes, and each bill I will take a serious look at.
We're going
to move on.
No, this is
we're going to move on. We're going to talk about Social Security and Medicare. It's estimated this year that 1/3 of the federal budget, I looked it up, is about $2 trillion will go toward Social Security benefits and Medicare benefits this year. Mr. Fung, there's been a lot of reporting in the last week on a budget plan by the House Republican Study Committee, which proposes raising the full eligibility age for Social Security to 70 years old and the Medicare eligibility age to 67. If you're elected, would you support or oppose those increases in the eligibility age?
Well, Ted, here's one thing. You see that woman that's sitting in the front row? That's my mom. She worked 35 years running a Chinese restaurant, serving the public. Now she's retired, and she's one of hundreds of thousands of mothers, fathers, grandparents in Rhode Island that rely on that Social Security check. I will not do anything, unlike what Seth Magaziner is outright lying again in his ads, to do anything that will impact her and all the other recipients of Social Security in the state of Rhode Island all across the country.
But forward-looking, that's kind of the point that Republicans have said. Don't change it for current people, but for future people, 70 for Social Security, 67 for Medicare. You open to that.
Here's what I could be supportive, and there's bipartisan support on this bill. It's called Scrap the Cap. So that individuals like Seth's family, who doesn't rely upon Social Security checks like my mom does, would shoulder a little bit more of the burden to help save the system. That's what I would be supportive of, to help save the system.
Well, Ms. Magaziner, many Democrats also want to scrap the cap. What do you say?
We should do that, but listen, again, clear contrast here. He has committed himself repeatedly to voting for a Republican leadership team that has said that cutting Social Security and Medicare is one of their top priorities. And you don't have to take my word for it. Kevin McCarthy, the guy who he says should be the next Speaker of the House, literally co-authored a book calling for cutting Social Security. The top Republican on the Budget Committee in the House, a guy named Jason Smith, who came here to campaign with Alan Fung a few weeks ago, gave an interview last week where he said that if the Republicans take control and he's in charge of the Budget Committee, cutting Social Security and Medicare would be his top priority, and he's even willing to shut down the government to do it. Look, I spend a lot of time in senior centers all across the district. I know that people are struggling, and Social Security is the one chance that seniors have to keep up with the cost of living. I am not going to vote for a leadership team in Congress that wants to cut Social Security and Medicare. Alan has given his allegiance to a group of people who have said that it's one of their top priorities.
Before I bring in Mr. Fung, I read the same Washington Post and Bloomberg articles, Mr. Magaziner, and those Republicans said clearly they don't believe it's cutting those programs to change benefits for future recipients if you hold current people harmless.
Yeah, tell that to somebody who's 64, 65 years old now. Listen, the Republican policies that they are proposing, they're talking about raising the retirement age. They're talking about changing the inflation formula so that people on Social Security don't get the same cost of living increases to keep up with the cost of living. These are cuts. They're calling them by names that don't sound so harmful. They're trying to window dress it, but cuts are cuts. And I will not support any cut to Social Security or Medicare. You talk about Medicare as well. The Democrats in Congress just passed a bill a month ago to cap the cost of prescription drugs for people on Medicare. Every single Republican voted against it. Alan said that he would have voted against that bill too. Seniors are getting killed by the cost of prescription drugs, and once again, Alan is taking the side of the drug companies, not of seniors who are struggling.
I'll let you respond.
Yeah, on both of those issues, because quite honestly, what I want the viewers to know and everyone in the district to know is I will be an independent voice standing up for Rhode Island values and standing up for those that are on Social Security, because the ones that are taking away Social Security isn't going to be myself. It's Seth Magaziner, because he's doubling down on the same economic policies of President Biden as well as Speaker Pelosi, that's taking money out of your pockets more than what you are getting from Social Security or any income. When you're paying more for energy costs, gas prices, food prices, all of that is coming out of your pocket. 47% just for electricity is an increase, 15% for gas. That is outrageous. That's what I'm going down to D.C. to fight for.
But listen, you don't get to say that you're outraged by the cost of living if you opposed raising the minimum wage from $7 to $8, if you say that you want to put a leadership team in place that is determined to cut Social Security and Medicare, and if you say that you want to repeal the Affordable Care Act, which would cause 70,000 Rhode Islanders to lose their health insurance. If you care about the cost of living, you would support raising incomes and protecting benefits for working people.
And here's the other part that I want to address, because when you take a look at what people are getting paid now, it's more than any arbitrary minimum wage. And this is what is going on. And even then, they can't keep up because of the policies that he wants to double down on. We can't afford Seth Magaziner and his continued failed policies that are crippling America. But I also want to address that prescription drug issue that he wants to talk about, because this is also—
To be clear, we're talking about the changes in the Inflation Reduction Act?
Correct, because he's trying, because on that, this is something that's also personal to me, because of the other family member that's sitting out in that audience is my younger sister Arlene, who has disabilities, pre-existing conditions, and requires life-saving medication every single day, insulin. You don't think I would do anything, move heaven and earth, to help her or any other family members across that face the same situations like her? I would definitely do that. But let's look at the reality of what that bill that Seth wants to keep doubling down on. It added billions in new taxes to the middle class. It added 87,000 IRS agents that are going to be targeting the middle class. That's more IRS agents than people living in the city of Cranston. They're coming after us, and we can't afford to have these policies.
I do want to move on, but I will give you 30 seconds, but we do need to go to a new topic.
So what you just heard is an outright lie. Listen, This was a bill to cap the cost of prescription drugs for people on Medicare. Well, that it would raise taxes on the middle class. So there was no tax increase in that bill for anyone making less than $400,000 a year. The Treasury said specifically that those IRS agents are only to audit people making more than $400,000 a year, including, I'm sure, some of the billionaires who are funding his campaign. What he is saying is that protecting tax breaks for billionaire tax cheats is more important to him than lowering the cost of prescription drugs for seniors. That is just another sign that he, like all the other extreme Republicans in Washington, are putting their campaign funders, the drug companies, the insurance companies, ahead of what is right for Rhode Islanders. And I will not stand for that. When I am in Congress, you know that I will be on the right side of this every time.
All right, let's move on to the next topic. Mr. Fung, last week, the U.S. House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol building voted to subpoena former President Donald Trump. If Republicans win the House in the midterms, they will almost certainly move to end the committee's work. Do you think the committee should be allowed to continue its work and attempt to interview the former president, or should the committee's work end at this point?
Well, it's two questions. First of all, I'm not Donald Trump's lawyer, so that's a decision whether he's going to testify in front of that committee that he's going to have to make with them. But on that January 6th commission, if it was a true bipartisan commission, I could support it.
So it sounds like you're saying that you don't think it's a true bipartisan commission, so you would look to end it?
No, if it's a true bipartisan commission, I would support it.
You know the makeup of the committee right now, so would you let it continue or would you end it?
No, like I said, I would support a true bipartisan commission.
Okay. All right, let me ask you this then in a different way. Let's say they had asked you to serve on this committee as a congressman. Would you have served on it?
Yeah. Look, if it was a true bipartisan commission without political interference, then yes, I would serve. Because, look, January 6th is a very dark day. I recognize that. I spoke out and condemned what happened on that day. And I recognize Joe Biden is our president. And it's always important when you take a look at any type of oversight, because I come from, like you noted, a prosecutorial background. Mm-hmm. You look at facts and you do it with an independent lens, and that's what I would support. That's what I mean when I say a true bipartisan commission.
All right, I have a different question for you, but I'll give you 30 seconds if you want to respond.
Well, first of all, there are Republicans on the commission. It is bipartisan, so stop with the misinformation. But listen, January 6th was a travesty, and the worst part of it was that there were over 100 Republican members of Congress who voted to overturn an election, to overturn the will of the people. We should not have election deniers in charge of Congress, and that includes Kevin McCarthy and Steve Scalise, who's doing a fundraiser for Alan next week, the leadership team that he's backing. So, Alan, I'm going to ask you again, would you please pledge that you will not vote for an election denier who voted to overturn the 2020 election to be Speaker of the House? There were other Republicans who did the right thing and voted to certify. Would you at least pledge that you would not vote for a Speaker of the House who tried to overturn the 2020 election?
Mr. Fung, briefly.
I'm going to vote. My first vote in Congress will be to replace Nancy Pelosi as Speaker and her failed policies.
So we know what that
means. And most importantly,
we know.
What I,
so ladies and gentlemen,
please. And most importantly, what I will do is, make sure that we be a check on the failed policies of our current president, who he supports and wants to have 6 more years of this disastrous economy. That's what I'm going down for Washington, D.C. to focus on the economy, because they cannot, when I say they, the people in the district, people of Rhode Island, people in our country cannot continue to face, egg prices the way it is at almost $5 for 12
Mr. Magaziner,
eggs.
why don't we address what he's bringing up here? I asked Mr. Fung a question about his party's national leadership, but what about yours? Where have you disagreed with President Biden or Speaker Nancy Pelosi?
Well, listen, unlike many in my party, I do support term limits, and I do support suspending the federal gas tax, which is something that a number of other Democrats disagree with, but I think that working people need a break.
Okay. Ted?
All right, I want to ask you, stick with you, Mr. Magaziner. You've been airing a TV ad that talks about why you want to ban members of Congress from trading stocks. And you said, quote, public officials should serve the people, not get rich off their positions. Target 12 investigation we aired this month revealed the man you're running to replace, Congressman Jim Langevin, made over $1 million in stock trades during the first 8 months of this year, and he regularly trades in tech companies while serving as chairman of a cybersecurity committee. And despite what you said in your TV ad, you haven't uttered a word of criticism about the stock trading activity of Mr. Langevin, who did endorse you. Tonight, will you call on Mr. Langevin to stop trading stocks?
Yeah, well, listen, I know Jim Langevin well. He's served our district honorably, our state honorably. He's an honest man, and he does not have a corrupt bone in his body. So I'm going to support Jim Langevin. That being said, I don't believe that members of Congress should be allowed to trade stocks because they have access to too much insider information, and I will make it a priority to pass a bill to ban members of Congress from trading stocks. And one of the inspirations for why I want to do this is because when Alan was mayor of Cranston, he awarded a taxpayer-funded no-bid contract to a company that he owned stock in. And so this kind of insider dealing, whether it's at the local level or at the federal level, needs to stop.
Mr. Fung, you also have declined to criticize Mr. Langevin, but you have criticized Senator Sheldon Whitehouse over stock trades. Your campaign has. Why have you exempted Congressman Langevin from criticism on that issue?
Well, let me just address one quick thing off his point, because first of all, I don't trade my own stocks. I've got a financial advisor. And yes, I have made sure that, I criticize not only Senator Whitehouse, but people that are supporting him, being funding him, Nancy Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, that called fortuitous stock trades. But the bottom line is this. I think, in Congress, I want the people of the district to know that I will not trade my own stocks. And most importantly, I'm willing to go even further and put a lot of my stocks and any mutual funds into a blind trust so that it avoids any appearance of a conflict.
Would you do that?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Fung, Leader McCarthy said he opposes trading off a pathway to citizenship or DACA for increased border security. Is it a red line for you as well? Would you only vote for a bill that has both a path to citizenship and border security, or would you vote for a version McCarthy and others want, which is just border security?
For me, border security is critically important because of not just, the free flow of individuals crossing the border, every single day, that southern border, but most importantly, the fentanyl that's coming in that's impacting even here in Rhode Island. It's a critical issue, but I'm also one of those individuals because, look, let's face it, I'm first generation born in this country. My parents came from, in 1969, from Hong Kong, China, to live the American dream. I believe that we need to also have an orderly process so that people can come to this country legally and also address, this situation that's going on that is really a crisis at our southern border that has an impact in many communities across our country.
What about the people that are already in the country who are undocumented as we speak?
Yes.
Support that.
I've had that position for years.
All right, Mr. Magaziner, your party has now controlled the federal government for the past 2 years. Do you think border security has been lax in that time?
Well, listen, we need comprehensive immigration reform in this country, and our country is based on immigration. That's what makes our country great. Every one of our families has an origin story. My family came here from Ireland and Eastern Europe. Others came from other places. And we need to have an immigration system that is fair and safe and efficient. So what I would prioritize is more resources to the border to make things more efficient there, supporting a legal path to citizenship for those who are doing the right thing, paying taxes, earning their way to citizenship, particularly the dreamers who were brought here as children. We also need to work with neighboring countries to crack down on the drug cartels that are creating a lot of the violence and instability that is seeking people, leading people to seek refuge to the United States. Under the Trump administration, our relationships with our allies was damaged in a number of ways, and that hurt our ability to address some of the issues that are fueling people going to the border.
Our debate tonight is happening as many experts say the risk of a nuclear exchange is the highest it's been since the Cuban Missile Crisis, which was actually 60 years ago this month. With Russia suffering more and more setbacks on the battlefield in Ukraine, those experts say President Putin may use a so-called tactical nuclear weapon against Ukraine. These have much smaller payloads than the atomic bombs used in Japan in 1945, but it would still be the first use of nuclear weapons since then. So I want to ask both of you, and I'll start with you, Mr. Magaziner. If President Putin detonates a tactical nuclear weapon in Ukraine, do you think the U.S. and NATO should respond with our own nuclear strike or not?
Well, listen, President Putin needs to understand that if he even gets close to a launch button on a nuclear weapon, there will be swift and severe consequences. We have to stand up to bullies. If Vladimir Putin or another dictator thinks that they can invade a peaceful democratic nation like Ukraine and threaten nuclear war without consequences, we, the democratic nations of the world, have to be strong and have to stand up to them. So the consequences, he has to know that the consequences will be swift and severe. And there's a real difference that's emerging here in Congress. Let's be clear. Donald Trump, when he was president, cozied up to dictators like Vladimir Putin. If he was still president, there would be a Russian flag flying over the Ukrainian capital right now. And just yesterday, Kevin McCarthy, who he wants to be the next Speaker of the House, said that if the Republicans take control, they are going to cut or end aid to Ukraine. That would be a catastrophic mistake.
I believe he said he doesn't want to give a blank check anymore.
It's not a blank check. Look, we have to support Ukraine in their war against the Russian invaders. We have to stand with our democratic allies, not just because it's the right thing to do for Ukraine, but for the democratic nations that are our allies. It is in all of our interests to make sure that we stand up to bullies like Vladimir Putin and not do what Donald Trump or Kevin McCarthy are doing and say, well, we might help you if you do something for us and if there are
But I want to take you back to the premise of the question. If Putin uses a tactical nuclear weapon, are you comfortable with NATO and the U.S. launching our own nuclear strike, or do you think it should be responded to with conventional weapons?
There would need to be an escalation. There would need to be consequences for a nuclear strike, and I would leave it up to the military experts what that escalation should look like, but it should be swift and severe, and he should know that before he even thinks about taking that route.
Mr. Funk, same question. If President Putin detonates a tactical nuclear weapon in Ukraine, do you think NATO responds with nukes or not?
Well, first off, our standing in the world stage has been weakened because of the president that he supports. Yes, we should be standing up to bullies. But when President Putin saw what happened in Afghanistan, saw that we've got a president that won't listen to our military leaders, and we saw those images of people trying to flee Afghanistan, people falling off planes, that sent a critical message to President Putin that he can do whatever he wanted. And that's where we are right now on a world stage, because you're seeing some of this conflict and tension happening in China and Taiwan. And I'm intimately familiar with that because I've been there, seen those tensions. And so as a world superpower, we have weakened. But getting to what you're asking about those nuclear attacks, that is scary. And that is a situation where not only do we have to listen to our military leaders, but as a country, I would not support putting our troops on the ground in harm's way. I would support continuing to provide whatever armaments that we can and resources to support Ukraine and their troops on the ground. I would support providing whatever dollars we can for humanitarian aid, because we're still seeing those attacks.
But specifically to the question, there's perhaps no more consequential foreign policy decision that President Biden and other NATO leaders have to make than launching their own nuclear strike. If Putin took that step, would you be comfortable with the president doing that?
I would not be comfortable with launching a nuclear attack on any nation, because that would end all of us.
Mr. Magaziner, I am, before I go to my next question here, I'm curious about the topic that Mr. Fung raised here. Do you agree or disagree with President Biden's withdrawal and the way it happened from Afghanistan? He raised that.
Well, listen, it wasn't executed well, but I think we all understand that we couldn't be there forever and that the wheels were put in motion to leave Afghanistan under President Trump. Was the execution poor? Yes, it was. But I want to say to the Rhode Islanders who served in Afghanistan, your service was important and you did a lot of good over there. You protected American interests, you saved lives, we're grateful for your service, and the best way that we can honor it is by making sure that we strengthen our democracy here at home and abroad, by not putting election deniers in charge of Congress, and by supporting our democratic allies, including Ukraine and NATO, which their president kept trying to undermine.
Okay, I can only
Hold on for 1 minute, because I gotta push back. Again, Seth is out there misleading people. I'm not an election liar. You just heard me on stage today saying I recognize Joe Biden as our president.
But just to clarify for the viewers at home, I believe you're referring to Kevin McCarthy and other Republicans there.
No, he said myself.
No. He wants to put election deniers in charge of Congress. Kevin McCarthy, Steve Scalise, Jim Jordan, Marjorie Taylor Greene, people who voted to overturn the will of the people, to overturn a legitimate democratic election and make us more like Russia. He wants to put them in charge of the House of Representatives going into a presidential election cycle. That is so dangerous. And just to be clear about it, I'm not talking about all Republicans. There were 60 or so Republicans who did the right thing, who voted to certify the will of the people. You could support one of them to be Speaker.
We're very low on time.
But
his point is clear now. Do you have a response to that specific point about those leaders? Not you, but the leaders you will support.
Look, I'm going to be an independent down there, an independent voice for Rhode Islanders down there. And maybe Seth missed the memo because, you know, his number two, Steny Hoyer, has already said that I'm not an extremist. And this election is about us. The policies that we want to represent for Rhode Islanders. It is about, yes, it is about the future. And please, Seth, you know, the bottom line is this. It is about us and how we're going to represent the people of this district and the people of the state of Rhode Island. And that's what I want to go down to Washington, D.C.
I have 60 seconds before you both have to get to closing statements, or we want you to get to closing statements. So very briefly here, even in today's climate, you still need bipartisan support. What current member of Congress from the other party do you respect the most, Mr. Magaziner?
Well, I never thought I'd say this 3 years ago, but right now it's Liz Cheney, because she's one of the few Republicans who has the courage to stand up to the election deniers like Donald Trump and Kevin McCarthy.
Okay, and Mr. Fung, 30 seconds, please.
I would say Stephanie Murphy from Florida, because she's part of that Problem Solvers Caucus that I'd love to be part of, working across the aisle in a bipartisan manner to get things done for all of us, move our country forward.
All right, now each candidate will have 1 minute to give a closing statement, the order of which was drawn randomly prior to tonight's debate. First up, Mr. Magaziner, your 60-second closing remarks.
When I talk to Rhode Islanders across our state, what I hear is that they love our state, they love our country, but they're worried. They're working hard, but their income is not keeping up with their bills. They see extreme judges taking away fundamental rights, like the right of women to make their own health care decisions, and they're worried about what might come next. And they see that politics in Washington has become toxic. But look, it is possible to get good things done that will help working people. What it takes is leaders with the courage to take on the big special interests. I have that courage, and Alan Fung has shown that he doesn't. I will fight the big oil companies and the big drug companies that are raising prices and price gouging people. He won't, because they're funding his campaign. I will protect a woman's right to choose in Congress, our fundamental rights. When he had a chance to stand up and do that 3 years ago, he failed to do it. And I will fight against the extremists that are trying to overturn our democracy, cut Social Security and Medicare. He wants to put them in charge of Congress. I will not let that happen. Working together, we can get good things done for our state.
Now, I'll give you a chance to applaud in a moment. Mr. Fung, your 60-second closing remarks.
Sure. You know, Seth Magaziner wants to double down on the policies that's driving this cost of living crisis for all Rhode Islanders by supporting President Biden and Speaker Pelosi that have left spending out of control. Right now, what our country needs is strong leadership, and the men and women of the 2nd Congressional District deserve strong leadership to right this economic ship and keep our neighbors safe. We'll work together to lower your home heating costs, lower gas prices, and make sure you can afford to feed your families as you sit around the dining room table. We'll bring common sense back to Washington, D.C., and bring our successful formula from Park Avenue in Cranston right to Pennsylvania Avenue. We'll end the hyper-partisanship that has made all of us discuss what's going on nationally. I'm not going to be that partisan answer, but I will be the Rhode Island answer to all of our challenges. I'm Alan Fung, and for over a decade we did amazing things in Cranston. Now I'm asking for an opportunity to serve you once again.
And now to our audience, your opportunity to applaud the candidates.